Welcome back to NFL Kings. Thank you all for joining us today as we take a good look at the Week 11 matchups, starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Should be a horrible football game. No, it's going to be a horrible football game. The only reason why we're looking at this game is this is definitely one of the ones that we have to recommend. And as you'll see from the statistical analysis and statistical breakdown, it drastically favors the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only way they lose this game is if they quite literally don't show up to play. As well as what happened last week. Jaguars obviously kept it close. Few turnovers here, few, block punt, things like that. Things can kind of keep the game close. This game could still trend toward the Jaguars. However, obviously, FPI has it at nearly an 86% chance for the Steelers to win, and a 10.5 point favorite for the 46 over under. Which does seem a little bit low, but that might just be because of the Jaguars. But if you look at their Jaguars production lately, it's not that bad at nearly 25 points a game they've been scoring, which is really not that bad. That's really more the middle of the pack. Obviously on the season they're one of the worst, and giving up nearly 30 points a game. 25 and 30, that's 55 right there. Based upon what they give up and what they usually score, and not only in the last three. Right there. So that's why that over just definitely seems a little low. We'll see if thunderstorms do end up playing a factor. We do have it at 50% right now. We'll see if that weather changes with that wind as well. Could play a factor. Big Ben obviously isn't as good on the road just in general. Been a little bit better this season, but just as a career away quarterback, he's one of the worst away quarterbacks. So that also could play a factor in this game as well. Obviously not having a crowd definitely shouldn't hurt them. Not that it would matter if it was in Jacksonville. They would probably have more Steelers fans show up anyway than Jags fans. And you'll notice, obviously, we're talking about a top. Obviously, you can see a lot of red here and a lot of blue here. Red meaning top 10, bold red meaning top 5, bold blue, bottom 5, and blue being bottom 10. It just clearly favors the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't turn the ball over. They don't give the ball away. You notice they've been really struggling to run the ball lately, and they've been giving up nearly 183 a game on the ground. That is without Devin Bush. They've been honestly really kind of struggling to defend the run. That the James Robinson prop could definitely be in play here today, as well as many other factors. They give up, kind of in the middle of the pack at 130 for the season, bottom 10, but 107.3 lately hasn't been as bad. And they've been playing some decent running teams. It's not like they've been playing nobody. If you scroll down here, they got the last games, obviously. The Chargers in Houston can't run the ball at all, really, but Green Bay can absolutely run the ball. Losing only by 2 to them, 10. Getting blown out a little bit in the middle here by some teams that shouldn't be getting blown out by. But at the same time, I honestly see that happening more often than not, is them losing badly to teams that are just in the middle of the pack, because those teams obviously take them a little bit more seriously. I definitely think that when you play a game like this, it's the 31st ranked team. A lot of times the players themselves, they don't, give that extra film session. Maybe they take a little bit easier in the week, right? And that definitely can play a factor in a game like this, and especially the Steelers, who have a tendency to play down to their competition. It's one of the reasons why I do not recommend betting this game against the spread. I would only recommend betting against the money line, or maybe if you can get it for an alternate spread of -6.5, that could also be worth playing. I do expect them to win by a touchdown, but that 10.5 range, it could end up being a little bit closer just because of some of those factors that we were talking about. And you'll notice nothing too crazy against the spread. Um, yeah, as an away team, 3-1. Obviously, they've been doing really well this year, so that's really kind of why they've been hitting most of their cover percentages, and they have not. Interesting. And you start to see the win-loss trends. Obviously, they're atrocious, and obviously they're winning all their games. So, obviously the win-loss trends are going to go in favor of the Steelers. That's not really too surprising there. Obviously, we have them rated right around 31st. They're basically one of the worst teams. And I haven't really played anybody outside of their own. That's the one thing. Yeah, I mean, their strength of schedule is not surprising. I mean, look at who they played. Bad team, good team, good team, bad team, bad team, bad team, bad team, bad team, bad team. I mean, or bad team. I mean, that's pretty bad. Tennessee and Baltimore are the only legitimate football teams. Obviously, Tennessee, they have them ranked a little bit lower than even I have them, probably around 12. Baltimore's not the second ranked team right now. They're around 4. But that's pretty obvious. They've been playing the worst teams in football all season, and so that definitely has played a factor for them. But it's not like Jacksonville's played anybody good. They're just getting annihilated by pretty much everybody. Yeah, and you notice the worst teams are the ones that are beating them by double digits, and the best teams are barely beating them. I mean, Indy lost to them, so it's like the whole thing is just hilarious. Yeah, looking at that over under though, it's very intriguing. You'll notice most of them have been pretty low. Obviously, if it's in the 50s, they've easily gone under. When it's been around 50, but it's in right under 40s, they've been able to kind of peak above that, and especially the low 40s. That is kind of egregious for them. Especially them. I don't know why it was at 44.5 for that game. That's crazy. That should have been the easiest play ever, 44.5. And you'll notice they've actually gone over a few times and really only gone under in situations where 26, let's see, 37, the other team didn't really score. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why some of these unders have hit, is because of the other team just not being able to score. Same there. So that's kind of where you see that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really see this going over. If you could tease it to 44, I mean, I think that's a lock. If you tease it to 44, I don't see it. There's no way that this point, the point total is not going to be over 44. So that's kind of where I would lean there. If you do a tease to that, obviously, wow, they project him for 14-2 most likely. 15-1 is probably very likely. Yeah, I mean, if you look at their schedule, they don't really have much left. It's Buffalo, Indy are really the two games that are probably the biggest sweats. They actually think Cleveland at 67. Wow, they think they're going to beat Cleveland pretty badly there. I don't know about that. At Cleveland? Yeah, I mean, I think that game should be more 55, 58%. Especially this late in the season. This is going to be a dogfight. If it really is the last game of the season, that'll be a dogfight game. And if it's actually for something, or if it's not for anything, it would definitely favor Cleveland, because Pittsburgh will probably play backups and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, Washington's terrible. Jacksonville's terrible, 80%. Wow, they actually think that Washington's worse than Jacksonville. I mean, I guess it's because it's a home versus road, but still, Washington's a much better football team than Jacksonville. Looking at the injury factors, there's not too many major ones outside of offensive line's a little bit unhealthy for the Steelers. And let me look at the matchups real quick. So, yeah, they're a little bit weak along the offensive line. That right tackle position is definitely going to be a question mark. Yeah, that's going to be a big question mark. But, for Josh Allen to be able to get some pressure, he might be able to get some pressure on the edge there. He's definitely their best pass rusher. Miles Jack's obviously playing really well for them. Yeah, I mean, overall, their defense isn't that bad and shouldn't be run all over at all. which is probably why they haven't really give up that many points, or like, you'd think a team like this might be like way worse against the run, but they're really not that bad against the run. 107.3 in the last, obviously 25th. 131.7 is not good, but it hasn't been as bad lately. And honestly, their defense has been trending the opposite way. The opponent's pass percentage, yeah. See, teams are throwing a lot more on them, which isn't surprising. They're giving up 310, nearly 30th in the league in opponent's pass per game, and they've given up even more so. Yeah, I mean, Rodgers didn't have any trouble really hitting any of his targets. He had some big plays too down the field. That's kind of where, I do kind of expect a couple big plays, maybe to Claypool, maybe to Johnson. I do expect that to happen, especially if the weather holds up decently enough. Although if the weather is a factor, they may not hit those shots, and then all of a sudden this game's a little bit closer. We'll see. Pittsburgh definitely has a tendency to throw a lot of deep shots, a little bit more than I would actually like. They try to go for too many big plays, in my opinion, which just kind of kept teams close. But when they hit those big plays, they blow teams out. So it's kind of a factor that could definitely play there. But yeah, I mean, everything's definitely leaning Steelers. You can obviously see in the stats, it definitely does not. I mean, they're a poorly penalized team. They turn the ball over a lot. Like Jacksonville really struggles in a lot of the key areas that win football games. Pretty good on third down, top 10. That's pretty good on third down. But lately that number's not quite as good. So I do know that. I don't have it here for you guys. There will be more and more stats. Obviously, you'll see we definitely brought more stats for you guys this week to really look at. God, sack percentage, they really can't get pressure on the quarterback either. And you're talking about a team that gets the best pressure on the quarterback. Like it just does not, and they're throwing way too much. Number 2 in the league for how good their rushing attack is. I get it. They're behind in a lot of games, so that's why that number's so high, but that is just way too high. And even Steelers is way too high. I mean, that needs to be closer to 55%. Team's just throwing way too much. They have to, and then against the Steelers, obviously, they have to throw a pretty decent amount. Wow. They give up almost 8.5 yards per pass play. That's so bad. It's the worst in the league, dude. They give so many big pass plays. Oh, like I just don't see how there's any way they win this game outside of the Steelers just absolutely laying an egg and just not deciding not to show up. Like not doing any film study, not deciding. I mean, I just don't see it. Tomlin's just not going to let that happen. You have to maintain. The Chiefs are going to lose at most 2 games this year, so there's no way the Steelers can let that happen. As far as they get behind the 8 ball there, so definitely leaning Steelers. Everything's favoring Steelers statistically. The matchups on the offense. Actually, let's look at the Pittsburgh Jags opposite way. Yikes! I mean, the offensive line for Jacksonville is actually not playing that bad. That's pretty decent. Obviously, going against that pressure percentage and sack percentage, TJ Watt's just been an absolute monster. They get just an absolute beast of a front. They can pretty much just rush 4. Yeah, I mean it's going to be a tough day for Luton for sure. It's going to come down to whether or not they actually decide to run the ball more and keep Pittsburgh's offense off the field. I don't like them to do that because of the coaching staff they have. It's not good. I don't know why they're not running the ball more. They need to run the ball more to control the clock. And I get it. They've been falling behind in games, but still, like, you got to be able to, in the first half at least, have a close to 55% pass around, 45, 55, something like that at least should be in play if for them to have any chance, especially a team that's really struggled to stop the run lately. You got to force them to make tackles, make plays. So, matchups just do not favor Jacksonville. The receivers should do well, though. The corners for Pittsburgh are nothing really special. They should do fine. I don't really like anybody in the fantasy plays, but for that, but I'll have to see. I mean, if they decide to use James Robinson, he'll have a good day. It's just, I honestly don't think they will because they're pretty stupid. Yeah, okay, so that's kind of where we're leaning with this game. Just want to make sure there's no other major injuries before I finish this one. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I see it looks like, yeah, and I mean, nobody like that I'm really worried about for the Steelers outside of who they've already had injured and are and are on IR. Jacksonville's a little bit more concerning overall, especially with no Laviska. Missing some pieces, but like they're pretty healthy. CJ Henderson obviously too. Their corner rookies out. That could hurt as well. I mean, overall the secondary is just not great. It's just gonna come down to whether or not as long as the weather holds up, Roethlisberger should have some big plays down the field. They give just too many yards. I mean, obviously they're worst in the league, especially lately in pass defense. So that's kind of where I would expect this game to go. Yeah, so definitely would lean toward Steelers money line, obviously, and Steelers -7.5 is kind of where I would go if you can get that, or 6.5. I apologize, -6.5. I do expect them to win by a touchdown. So that's kind of where I would put my money. That over could also be in play, especially if you get it at 44. So good luck to you guys in week 11 for this particular matchup. Be sure to subscribe for more content. We're going to have more and more content each week as we cover more and more games each week. And I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.